Hi, I'm Andy Ridgway and I work in science communication. Okay, so maybe I don't really have the sort of background that you might traditionally think of with an academic. I come from a background as a journalist. I've spent the last 20 years as a journalist. The last probably 10 years of that being a science journalist. I worked on BBC Focus magazines, probably the most well-known publication. And while I'm here, I still write, predominantly for New Scientist. Okay, so science communication, generally what we're talking about is looking at ways to communicate science to people who aren't experts in science. So it could be children, it could be adults, and we're looking at different approaches as well. So it could be through the media, through TV, through radio, through magazines and websites, but also through science centres, museums, and also through means that you wouldn't necessarily associate with science communication, such as through films. There's a lot of science in Star Wars, for instance. It's something that having a sort of practice-based background is something that the university is very keen on. It has a real emphasis on teaching students, I suppose, the real skills that they would need when they go out into the outside world. So they're very keen to get members of staff in who have worked in those environments and so really have a good intuitive understanding of the skills you need, the attributes you need, so that when you go out into the outside world, you're able to just use them and it feels natural. Science communication research, the research that we do, I suppose really you could boil it down to trying to get an understanding and an evaluation of different approaches to science communication. So the sorts of projects that we've worked on in the past are really looking at the impact of informal learning, so that's things through science centres and exhibitions on children, how they see science and the careers that they subsequently go on to do, but also understanding how people respond to science events within a music festival. That's something else we've explored. And I suppose in a general sense you might say, well, you know, why do we want to know this? The reason is the way science is communicated has a big impact on people's perception of science, their understanding of it, but also ultimately their behaviour. So people's understanding of science determines, for instance, whether they get their children inoculated, the food that they might throw away, how much of it they throw away, whether they recycle. It influences government policy, government decision-making as well. And it also influences other bigger picture things, such as what children go on to do in their careers. So it's really important to get a good understanding, a good quantitative understanding, good detailed understanding of how people perceive science when it's communicated to them. The sorts of projects that we do are, again, diverse. I mean, just to give you a couple of examples, one of my students at the moment is looking at the information that's given to biomedical science students that relates to their future careers and how accurate it is, and I suppose really how relevant it is to the thoughts that they're currently having about their future working life. Another of my students is then also looking at information about a specific subject in the media and people's responses to it, how easy it is to understand. Those subjects we look at undergraduate level. We can also explore them at MSc level, at master's level, and also even at PhD level. And what differs really is I suppose the level of detail that you would explore each of those topics in.